receivers continue to be the discussion. We'll talk on the other side and what A.J. Brown could or could not do tonight against the Chiefs. But it's after a bye week. We mentioned how good Andy Reid is post-bye week, just winning games outright. Nobody's been better. Part of that has always been, there's a new wrinkle, there's a change. If there was anything to work on, we know it was around the wide receivers, either finding out the specific wide receiver or it was figuring out how to get certain receivers in the right spot. Probably all of the above, by the way. If I were to make you actually say, hey, this is a guy that I think when we look at the second half is going to have a better second half of the season versus just being status quo, who are you most confident in actually having a much better second half?
I can't believe I'm going to double dip. On the preseason prediction for that, I'm going to go with Sky Moore.
Okay.
This is a good question asked over at Arrowhead Pride because they were just making the argument it will be Sky Moore.
He's going to get the opportunities,
That's really where I'm stuck. And I take to word things like Peter King coming on the drive last week and saying Andy is still bullish on Sky Moore. Kadarius Toney snaps went from 30, 25 a game to 15 a game, and then in the game before the bye, 7. His snaps were heading in the wrong direction this entire time. So, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence. I don't think MVS is going to have a better second half than the first half. His season just feels like it's stuck in neutral, so I don't feel like that's going anywhere. You could say Rashee Rice if you want, if you think it's going to be even better than what he did in the first half, but he had a pretty good first half. I think the answer is Sky. If you're making me choose a receiver to say they'll have a better second half than they did in the first, Sky.
I hear you on Sky because we know they're going to keep giving opportunities unless everything that's been put out there has been intentionally false. They're going to continue to give him opportunities. And so opportunities are the first thing you have to have if you're going to have a big second half or at least an improved second half. You got to get on the field, which is why I don't know how any of us can say Tony's the solution based off of what I think he should have an increase in snaps, but I don't know if they're actually going to give him that. But if he's getting 7 or 8 snaps a game, then there's so few opportunities. They absolutely need to try to give him the ball more, though. I mean, that to me is something that is really frustrating. I think we saw a glimpse of it in the Dolphins game, the one slant he had. Give him more opportunities. I'm not worried about him getting hurt anymore, okay? If he gets hurt, he gets hurt.
We talked about it. I mean, he's averaging 14 yards a game.
Him having, 7 snaps and 14 yards, but being healthy all year does nothing. I don't care. Playing 17 games does nothing. We did talk about that last week. To answer the question, though, I think there's 2 names that popped up right away. I actually disagree with you on MVS. I think while he's regressed, he, to me, is very likely to just have a much better second half of the season because I think they still think because of the veteran presence, he's going to get a lot of opportunities in terms of snaps. He has regressed to a certain extent, but I do think he's actually part of the key here in the second half of the season based off of, while we may think after this year he's done, I think he's important for the second half. So that's the first name that actually came to mind. And then, the second one's Rashee Rice. It's just how much more room is there? He actually had a pretty good first half for a rookie, but his snaps have gone up. 59% of the snaps in week 7, 61% of the snaps in week 8, 68% of the snaps in week 9. So, and he got two touchdowns in 3 of those games.
I just have
a touchdown in 2 of those games. I'm sorry.
That's fine, but I have a hard time. Even their wide receivers coach, who spoke last Friday or Saturday, I don't remember which day it was.
Friday, I think.
But even when he spoke, he's like, look, still got to temper expectations a little for Rashee Rice. He's still a rookie. There's still stuff he has to make sure, be smart on, be careful with. I think some of my hesitation there is not that I don't think he's capable of it, but that I feel like it should have to be somebody else doing it just to really progress this offense forward because he's being asked to do enough and is delivering on that number. I will say this. I did not give Tony as the answer to this. He was not my answer before the season. I had a lot of questions about Tony before the year. Those have not felt any better. But man, I was, you're sitting on the couch looking at bets for the Chiefs game. You're like, what do you like? I saw Kadarius Toney's over this weekend, and I would put what I would say is a ill-advised amount of
How many units?
Many units. Because I guess we don't talk bet size.
We don't unit shame on this show.
Okay, based on my normal bet size of 1 unit, I would say I put 15 units on Kadarius Toney's over tonight. I just told you. What? Listen to me.
You did say you put a lot. You did say that.
I was going to be honest with you. I have a really
so you put $15
dumb amount on Kadarius Toney's over tonight because when I bet it this weekend, his over-under yardage for this game was 5.5
I know it.
yards. 5.5, man. What am I supposed to do? Look at that and just ignore it? That is a comically low number. Did I look up how many times he's covered that in his career? Of course I did. Not before I bet it. That would have been smarter. He's covered it 20 out of the 28 games he played it. He's covered it 6 out of the 9 games this year. I don't think he's the answer, but dude, 5.5 yards. It's ridiculous.
Similar to when we were talking about the Dolphins game and how low some of those props were.
We did pretty good in that one.
In all, but I think Justin Watson's hit in that game. Yeah, I mean, it's up to 6.5 now. It was 5.5. I understand your logic because it's
just so comically low.
But as you know, the problem is if he's actually only going to get 7 snaps a game, then you got like one chance. You got like one chance to get it. And you're like, oh, it only takes one. Sure, I'm with you. But
7 snaps, 1 target, 1 catch. If he ends up with 1 catch for 5 yards tonight, I'm not coming tomorrow. That's it. I'm starting the holiday week early.
Look, I told you he needs more snaps. They should get him more involved. I know the text line from the 816 said, hey, Tony had knee surgery 5 months ago. They're being easy on him until the last part of the season. Yeah, that's basically what the Chiefs are saying. I'm just telling you that doesn't do anything for me anymore because he can play in 17 games, but if he's getting 10 snaps a game, who cares if he's healthy? It doesn't matter. And
why do I care if he's healthy if he's getting 14 yards?
And we know they do save players for the back half of the season. We've seen it with Jerick McKinnon. I'm not denying that. However, if you're telling me the plan is to wait till week 16 for Kadarius Toney to get 35 snaps, I'm calling BS on that. No way. Absolutely not.
That long.
Absolutely not. So he's either going to get the 35 snaps sooner or he's never getting 30 snaps in a game the rest of the season, which unfortunately...
And he used to get 30 snaps in some games earlier, and then the numbers started going down.
What about Richie James? Questionable tonight, Cody?
Honestly, to have a better second half is the smallest
Give the guy an opportunity.
Ever.
You know?
What does he have, like 13 yards on the season?
Yeah, so he obviously barely played the first 2 weeks, and he got hurt. They put him on IR. Reportedly tried to trade him. But, the Chiefs are activating him, right? He's questionable for the game. Before the season started, that was my biggest miss on any wide receiver. I guess theoretically he could have a massive second half. But I said he was going to have over 600, 700 yards. He's got 6 yards.
I'm willing to go.
Wow, I overshot it at 13.
Yeah.
My bad.
I'm willing to go Rashee Rice.
You think he'll be even better than he was in the first?
He had 378 yards. If you look, I'm just for comparison's sake to Tank Dell, another guy in the American Conference from last year.
American Conference?
Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that in a while. Go ahead.
He has a similar amount of receiving or receptions, but Tank Dell's got the more yards because of the heavy hitting plays. I think I'm convinced that they have something in the tank for Rashee to get down the field. I know he's been really good in regards to yards after catch, but he was a playmaker at SMU. I think that they're going to have something in the play sheet where he's going to have at least one 100-yard game coming in the second half of the year, and I think that he's going to get over 800 yards. At 378, I think he gets over 800.
I would like that. I mean, we talked about this on the show that I feel like, Gold, that's the most obvious way to maybe try to work in some deep passing. I mean, the stat out today, Steve Palazzolo, he's come on the show before. He's one of the head guys in charge over at Pro Football Focus. He put out the stat of throws beyond the sticks and behind the sticks. So how often are you throwing to the yardage marker? Patrick Mahomes has the second lowest rate in the NFL at throwing it beyond the sticks, which means just zero deep passing game. It does not exist. And I can't help but watch the highlight tape from Rashee Rice from the draft process and be like, you sure? You sure we can't just occasionally do that? But I still think the answer is opportunity is where I'm going to lean here. It's just Sky's going to get more opportunity than anyone else we're discussing on this list. And that includes Richie James, who wasn't getting opportunity before, although no reason not to give him opportunity now. I remember you were starting to mention that right before he got hurt. You're like, hey, if none of these wide receivers are going to start producing, we're about a week away from throw the ball to Richie James and let's just find out. I've never felt more that way. Now, throw it to anybody. I don't care. Find out if they got the good.